Wel, ja, snap ik. Ja. Nou, Dames en heren, mag ik u allemaal hartelijk welkom namens de Dataforensiek. Hallo? Deze avond staat in het teken van de MetaVerse-wereld. En voordat we beginnen, wil ik eerst nog even iets onder de aandacht brengen. Vanwege het feit dat het internationaal ook enorm op de kaart staat, dit onderwerp, zijn er een aantal mensen vanuit Tokio, LA en onze Rijksoverheid die de stream van de presentatie mee gaan kijken, volgen. En het is zo dat vanwege Chatham Rules en de whatwerfrecht van Canada, dat zij kunnen niet zien van de zaal, zij kunnen niet zien van ons, zij zien alleen de spreker en de presentatie die hierachter gaat gebeuren. Er wordt zo meteen nog gezegd wanneer het begint, dus dan weet u dat. En aan het eind wordt er ook weer dat gestopt. En dan kunnen wij onze vragen stellen zonder dat het buiten ons is. Dan gaan we nu over naar de orde van de dag, de metaverse-wereld. Ik wil maar. Ja, ik denk dat de presentatie gaat in het Engels. Maar dat zijn allemaal keywords. Ik wil even iets vertellen over de metaverse-wereld. Gartner, belangrijk onderzoeksbureau, heeft twee vraagstukken gesteld dat in de enkele jaren, zij zegt 2026, een kwart van de mensheid minimaal een uur per dag door zal brengen in de metaverse. Volgens hun kan de metaverse geen bezit worden van een enkele leverancier, maar de virtuele economie wordt gebaseerd op digitale valuta en NFT's, waardoor het invloed krijgt op elk bedrijf waar consumenten dagelijks mee te maken hebben. Igor, onze spreker, die zal daar ongetwijfeld meer over vertellen. En dan nu geef ik het woord aan jou.
Is het van de microfoon even pakken, denk ik? Is dat makkelijker? Ja, dankjewel voor de uitnodiging om hier te mogen spreken. I continue in English. Why? Because people online don't understand Dutch at all. I will wave a bit so they see me, they don't see you. So the broadcast is initiated right now. The lecture will be about 45 minutes, and after 45 minutes, we'll have time for about 10 minutes of questions, and we'll have one guinea pig who will come here in front and try the metaverse themselves. I always see as an entrepreneur, seeing is believing. You have to experience it yourself. Oh, sorry. I hope it works. Oh. I have to switch. I actually created the so-called MetaVerse Business Club in The Hague. Why? Because I think knowledge about the metaverse is very relevant for the Dutch industry, and especially the creative industry. Also, I created an e-learning platform which is called LearnMetaverse.today, and you can take about 3 lectures completely for free. So I would, let's say, challenge you to take one of the courses, and it's quite interesting.
Welcome to this.
To properly understand the metaverse, it is wise to first look at what the concept actually entails. In the online platform LearnMetaverse.today section Metaverse Basics, there is the opportunity to delve into the content from this section. The Metaverse Basics are the foundation you need to understand the opportunities and risks in using and transitioning to the metaverse from your company, or as a private individual.
And this is also interesting because the lady you see here is pure AI. She's not real, it's synthetic. These are synthetic persons who are working for me to bring you the message what the metaverse would like to do tonight is to give you as much information as possible. I created a lot of, let's say, video content, especially for tonight, and I'm working on a documentary for about 45 minutes. So what you see here are snippets of the video which will be used in the documentary, which I will release in 2 months from now.
In 1992, when the internet was still new, American novelist Neil Stephenson spoke about virtual reality, a virtual world where people would use digital avatars to live, work, and play online. He called it the MetaVerse, a blend of meta, meaning beyond, and verse from the word universe. He said this world, the MetaVerse, would be the successor of the internet, an escape of sorts from a dystopian reality. What kind of dystopian reality? This is the picture he painted. The global economy has collapsed, federal governments have lost their power, and a handful of giant corporations control the world. That was his projection 3 decades ago. Today, big tech is working on building the same future, minus the dystopia, hopefully. As we speak, tech giants like Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Facebook are racing to claim the metaverse, a virtual universe that will coexist with the physical world.
World. But it's quite interesting. She is creating the message that only 4 tech companies are creating metaverse platforms. It's actually incorrect. There are now about more than 70 metaverse platforms in the world. You only know those platforms because they are the biggest brands. But a lot of companies create their own metaverse for their own specific purpose. And I like definitions. So after digging into the subject, I purchased about 10 books or so at bol.com, and it was annoying because I was reading one book and reading it and say, okay, read the next book, and then actually see that those things don't match. The terms and definitions vary. So after, let's say, 10 books reading, I came to this version, which is the most, let's say, pure definition of what is the metaverse. The metaverse is a seamless convergence of our physical and digital lives, creating a unified virtual community where we can work, play, relax, transact, and socialize. And the last topic is very relevant because, in fact, the metaverse is all about social behavior. Right now, we're using social media every day. We are stick to the screen, we are dopamine machines. And basically, with the metaverse, it will be more and more. And the metaverse also creates a very immersive world. So if you have a mobile phone and you click on a picture or swipe left or right, that sounds something else when you have a headset on, which I'll demo later, where you are totally immersed into a virtual environment, and every data point you generate is used to create a profile. That's later on. And to make it a bit more, let's say, complex but also simple, there are 3 terms out there. One is called the so-called metaverse, one is the multiverse, and one is called the omniverse. So the metaverse is in fact several worlds which coexist between each other, but they are not interoperable. Which means if you purchase an object, let's say a virtual character or clothing, and you bring it to another world, you cannot use it. In a multiverse, however, you can transport your digital item to another platform. So, for example, in one game, you have this jacket, and I play the other game, and I have the same jacket. That's happening in the multiverse. The omniverse is actually the umbrella, which is the combination between the multiverse and the metaverse. And unfortunately, a lot of, let's say, also research companies are using those terms incorrect. And big kudos to Theo Priestley of Newzoo who created this slide. So to give you a bit of a blend, in fact, the metaverse it doesn't arrive just in one day. It's actually a process of at least 20 years in development. I studied at the University of Santa Barbara on virtual reality, and I was immediately captured by the technology. In the beginning, the real beginning, virtual reality was developed by DARPA. So it's a weapon system. But everybody remembers Second Life, of course. Who has created a profile on Second Life? do you still use it? That's an interesting answer. Nobody. From my perspective, Second Life was great, but it was a trend. Everybody goes online, and when you are entering Second Life, it becomes very complex, and the user interface was very complex. So a lot of people left Second Life. However, today Second Life is generating a lot of revenue. Everybody was forgetting the company, but it still exists. I won't, let's say, describe everything, but I will just pinpoint the highlights. One thing is very, let's say, relevant in this slide, that you actually see that the gaming community is growing really, really fast. And the amount of revenue generated in the gaming world is 2 to 5 times more than the movie and music industry combined. That's amazing. To give you a bit of an idea, there are about 3.5 billion people in the world who play a video game every day. So to give you another static, so for example, World of Warcraft or a big title, sometimes between 5 and 15 million people play concurrent in the same world. That's freaking amazing. You cannot see this happening in a TV broadcast, the Voice of Holland. Sure. But this is really the next thing. The people are working and experiencing basically the same digital environment, sharing emotions, and also esports is actually an actual lifestyle, which is very great. When you look at the total landscape, and you see Facebook, and you see Microsoft is super smart. They purchased Minecraft for 2.5 billion back in 2014, but actually they did something else with it, because they purchased the youth who was playing this title on and on and on. So they don't pay 2.5 billion for the technology. No, it's about the customer base. The customer base is growing up and is able to buy more expensive games later on. So a very wise investment. Another, let's say, title which is purchased by Microsoft is the gaming house Activision Blizzard for, what was it, 68 billion. And you think that's a lot of money, but Microsoft realizes one thing: content is king. If you don't have content, people won't interact. And I don't know, did anyone from you played with the streaming video services of Google Stadia? One, do you still use it? Two, three. Uh, what is happening with Google Stadia? They basically are phasing out a lot of titles right now, and there is not enough new interesting content. From my experience, I don't know how you think about that, but I think it can be much more. And by the acquisition of let's say Microsoft by Blizzard, they created this competitive advantage. Content, already developed successful titles, and bring it also to the MetaVerse in the near real time. One other very interesting platform to look at is so-called Decentraland. Why is it relevant? Because it's a Web 3.0 platform, and I will describe that later. But you are all businessmen, so from a business perspective, why is, let's say, the metaverse interesting at all? I give you the numbers. These are shocking. So what are the business opportunities? So this is actually valid data. So to give you an idea, the metaverse is a transaction machine and a machine to deliver virtual goods. So every year, 45 billion is spent on virtual goods. So like it's closing. But also, if you look at the concurrent, let's say, messaging which is taking place into, for example, Roblox, it's amazing. 60 billion messages a day in Roblox alone. Compare that with SMS or social media. It's amazing. It is just one platform, Roblox. Creation. So if you look at Second Life, they did a turnover of about 650 million still used, but they also paid the authors of the content 80 million back. So that makes it addictive. You create something, and this creation is purchased, and you get rewarded for it. So that's why, as a creator or as a creative, you create more because you make more money. Ownership. That's also quite interesting. Everybody heard about the NFTs, and it has now a market capitalization of 41 billion. In Q3 and Q4 last year, the growth rate was exponential, and it's still growing exponential. And when I see exponential things, I get wild. I like that. And the last thing is experience. What you see, like every, let's say, new technology, it delivers new type of strategic partnerships. So brands are using the platform to create a new experience for the customers and to create a new type of, let's say, brand engagement. And to come back to the words of Zuckerberg, he actually said one data profile in the metaverse is 10 times the revenue of a Facebook user. Let that sink in for a while. So he's making 10 times more money if you go to Horizon in Facebook. And also, when you want to understand how the metaverse works, I really like Lego. So you have, let's say, the foundation plate where people are communicating, you have the infrastructure layer in the form of hardware or your mobile device. You have the content layer, so the game, let's say Roblox, and you have the so-called true metaverse, where you can have a digital twin from yourself engaging in a digital world which is completely tailored to you. And this is something bizarre. People don't get it yet. In fact, the metaverse will be a reflection of our real world and more. So you get not one Earth, no, a billion type of Earths in a digital format. How can you interact in a metaverse? Of course, everybody remembers the mobile phone and the fast adoption rate. It's like, everybody has one now. But I predict in 2 or 3 years from now, about, let's say, 25% of the people here in the room will have an augmented reality device, which you are seeing on the left, which enables you to interact in real time with 3D objects and people. And on the right side, you see basically the consumer version of the metaverse. It's about a couple of $100, and you can interact completely in 3D. But what's also interesting is that, let's say, the physical world and the digital world are interacting. So you will see a mixed reality. They call it XR. So what is virtual becomes real and vice versa. And that's, I think, very interesting. And basically, the technology is evolving so fast that you will actually see real-time metaverse applications in a couple of years, which you cannot, let's say, see if it's a real picture or a generated picture. That's mind-boggling. This is a difficult slide, but I will basically showcase it a bit. So on the bottom layer, you have the 5G or 6G connections and the graphics who make things possible. And you have the human interface, the so-called smart glasses or the headsets. You have a type of decentralization. Why is this relevant? Because if you want to have performance, you need to bring AI to the edge. So a lot of devices will have AI on board to do specific calculations which give you a flawless experience. The spatial computing environment. Actually, the metaverse cannot exist if there is not a 3D vector. So basically, the metaverse needs an orientation point. The room is digitized in real time, and while you are interacting with virtual objects in this room, the result is calculated and sent back to your glasses or device. And don't forget the creator economy, which I pointed out by Roblox or by Second Life. If creators can make money out of this, there will be a whole new industry creating content specifically for all those large amount of users. And the advertising agency also need to step up their game. They can create ad networks, but also create new type of experience, which creates an immersive, let's say, perception of new products and services. And they create new type of data points. So to give you a bit of a flavor, in here I have this virtual Vive Pro headset, and this is a specific device which is used by marketeers. What's it? It's actually an infrared camera which is measuring all the muscles in your face in real time. And the system looks how your eyes are moving. So this is heaven for the marketeer because you can showcase product, see the pupil dilation, see how they respond, how fast they breathe, make them happy, is it sad, what is the emotional trigger. So this is a whole new flavor of emotional marketing by this device. It's really awesome. Privacy, of course, is an issue. Okay. So a bit of, let's say, Web 2.0 versus Web 3.0. I talked about a bit about Second Life, and in Web 3.0 we have something called Decentraland, the Sandbox, Somnium Space, Crypto Voxels, and so forth. What is interesting about Web 3.0, it is very transaction driven. So you can own, for example, a virtual object like this, and this object is then minted. They call it minted. You have gas. It sounds a bit weird, this, but later on I will explain it. And this gas is used to put a digital version on the blockchain, like Ethereum. And you can actually buy this object with an NFT. Say, okay, I'm the only owner who actually has that. And in the beginning with this NFT, or so-called non-fungible tokens, I was saying, oh, these guys are completely crazy. You know, they buy a picture of, let's say, 32 pixels, and they pay millions and millions, and it's a Ponzi scheme, and yada, yada, yada. Okay, but I did some research, of course. And then I was checking out how much money is being made by pure trading NFTs. It's freaking amazing. These are real prices. So what you see here are the actual digital products which are being sold, and then sale price. So if you say you cannot make money with NFTs, game over. You can make money with NFTs. It's pure trade. And you're talking only about the small picture, like CryptoPunk 5217. Yeah, there's only one picture, CryptoPunk, yada yada yada. And they use it like a status symbol. I'm the only guy who has this CryptoPunk picture. I started 10 years old and said, hey, click, right click on the picture, save as, and you have an exact copy. Don't tell it to anyone. And he is right, of course. Because that's the beauty about children. They say, you know, it's in your face. But anyways, NFTs are cool. And the last one is, of course, a pure piece of art which is sold for about $69 million. Pure digital picture. Amazing. So, while I'm an entrepreneur, I think about NFTs like people. So I created something called sheeple.club. And I created my own NFTs and I sell them on OpenSea. So if you want to own an NFT created by me, like the picture on the right, which is completely generated by AI, buy it, and I use the revenue to give you free education. So do something for me, I do something for you.
Let's
Not much.
Let's talk about Omniverse. The internet changed everything. It's surely an understatement. We are always connected now. The internet is essentially a digital overlay on the world. The overlay is largely 2D information, text, voice, images, video. But that's about to change. We now have the technology to create new 3D virtual worlds or model our physical world. These virtual worlds will obey the laws of physics or not. There could be AI or friends with you. We will jump from one world to another, like we do on web hypertext.
Imagine you put on your glasses or headset and you're instantly in your home space. This is your physical home recreated virtually. It has things that are only possible virtually, and it has an incredibly inspiring view of whatever you find most beautiful.
Hey, are you coming?
Yeah, just gotta find something to wear. All right, perfect.
This new world will be much larger than the physical world. We will buy and own 3D things, like 3D songs and books today. We will buy, own, sell homes, furniture, cars, luxury goods, and art in this world. Creators will make more things in virtual worlds than they do in the physical world. We build omnivores for builders of these virtual worlds. Some worlds we build for gathering and games, but a great many will be built by scientists, creators, and companies. Virtual worlds will crop up like websites today. Omniverse is very different than a game engine. Omniverse is designed to be data center scale. And let's talk about
The metaverse is the convergence of physical, augmented, and virtual reality in a shared online space, and it could become integrated with our everyday lives in approximately 10 to 15 years once technologies like virtual reality and augmented reality mature and become commonly used by the mainstream public. The metaverse will end up being a multi-trillion-dollar industry that impacts every part of the global economy. Here are 5 reasons why. Number 1, more transactions will take place in the metaverse than in the real world. That's partly because creators will make more items in the metaverse than they do in the real world. Those items will include digital houses, clothing, furniture, cars, and so on. Those items could be used for a variety of purposes, such as simulating real environments for business purposes, creating animated films, and designing worlds for educational purposes. Over time, these virtual items and the virtual worlds they're in will look increasingly more realistic. Marketplaces within the metaverse could transact hundreds of billions of dollars per year once the metaverse becomes mainstream and is fully integrated with our everyday lives. NFTs will also play a major part in the overall metaverse economy. In a decentralized metaverse, users can claim ownership over their digital assets. In this scenario, each person will have the option to own an asset, such as an NFT, and earn up to 80% of the revenues when that asset is resold throughout the blockchain. For example, clothing designers can create clothing with materials that can exist in the real world and sell them as NFTs using cryptocurrencies. These same clothing items could be used in CGI films, video games, and other forms of entertainment. Dolce & Gabbana and other clothing brands are already selling fashion NFTs. Adidas formed a partnership with The Sandbox, a crypto-based game, to start selling digital clothing items. Adidas also formed a partnership with Coinbase, a platform for buying and selling cryptocurrencies. And Nike recently launched NikeNet on the Roblox platform so that gamers can style their avatars with Nike gear. Once the metaverse matures, those digital assets could be accessible across multiple devices, such as virtual reality headsets, augmented reality glasses, smartphones, smartwatches, and so on. And those assets could be accessible in mobile apps that were typically considered unrelated to each other in earlier decades. When it comes to virtual worlds, there could be as many as thousands of millions of virtual worlds in the metaverse, and the total square miles could surpass the size of planet Earth within the next couple of decades. According to ArcInvest, the revenue from virtual worlds could approach $400 billion by 2025, and as virtual asset building tools become easier to use for the average person, that number could multiply tenfold over the coming decades. The metaverse is going to be an entire industry that will not be controlled by one company. Nevertheless, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta could potentially comprise a huge number of transactions in the overall metaverse industry. However, there's a large number of people who want nothing to do with Meta's metaverse because of Facebook's past controversies concerning privacy. There's also a high likelihood that Meta will want a cut of every transaction made on this platform, which could potentially be unattractive for many audiences. Number 2, the metaverse will accelerate the use of NFTs and digital currencies in video games. Gaming is the most well-developed part of the pre-metaverse. According to Statista, 3.2 billion people played video games in 2021. Gaming is also the most lucrative entertainment industry by far. It makes more than triple the revenues of box office movies and 7 times more revenues than music. And according to Grand View Research, the video game market will go from 168 billion in 2021 to 291 billion in 2027. Games like Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft are already considered pre-metaverses because gamers can use the same avatar and digital assets in wide range of experiences. Even Grand Theft Auto Online could be considered a pre-metaverse. Games like this will likely take advantage of virtual reality technology more and more as VR adoption rates rise. According to ArcInvest, VR headsets could reach smartphone adoption rates by as early as 2030. The adoption of NFTs and cryptocurrencies for large-scale franchises is a strong possibility as well. NFT sales hit 10 billion in the third quarter of 2021. This number is expected to grow exponentially over the next couple of years. Axie Infinity is a platform that allows users to build a collection of digital assets and use them across an expanded universe of games. It has its own Ethereum-linked sidechain called Moon, its own crypto wallet, and its own marketplace for buying and selling Axie characters as NFTs. We may see large mainstream game studios adopting a similar business model. In the future, we may also begin to see the ability to use digital assets, avatars, and even real faces of players in multiple mediums regardless of the video game publisher. This development would further increase the numbers of transactions in metaverse marketplaces. Number 3, the metaverse will save companies and individuals billions of dollars a year. The metaverse will help companies and individuals get more done in less time in a variety of ways. This will lead to economic benefits totaling billions of dollars or even hundreds of billions of dollars per year. A high number of virtual worlds will be made by companies to simulate physical processes from the real world. This is an effective way to anticipate the feasibility of a project before any visible work occurs. NVIDIA offers a digital twins feature under its Omniverse offering to address this use case. Ericsson, a telecommunications company, is using NVIDIA's Omniverse to build a digital twin of an entire city to continuously optimize the performance of their fleet of 5G antennas and radios. More specifically, they determine how to place and configure each of their transmission sites for the best coverage and network performance. BMW is building a factory in the digital environment to simulate real-life production scenarios. This will ultimately speed output, increase agility, and optimize efficiency. BMW is also using NVIDIA's Omniverse to teach robots new skills. Siemens Energy is using NVIDIA's Omniverse to build a digital twin of one of its steam generator facilities to predict corrosion and ultimately reduce downtime. This approach alone could save $1.7 billion a year in the energy industry.
This is, of course, something which is quite interesting because the whole world will change working by creating the first digital simulations. So I created SimCI, the simulation platform for critical infrastructure at Alliander, where we basically replicated the entire infrastructure of the Netherlands and played with scenarios like power outage, flooding, etc. But one of the things which we also did in the research track at Alliander is so-called predictive analytics. Predict when a component will fail before it fails. And why and how can you do that? That's basically pure data science. You capture all the, let's say, reports, and you create an AI which can more or less predict when a component will fail. And you can also visualize the results in a simulation of that actual component. So it becomes an iterative engineering method, which is, I think, very cool.
Dear audience, that is indeed a lot of new information to process immediately. Of course, it is possible to delve into one of the course modules, the custom master classes we can facilitate. Now you've understood the basics of it. We have come to the next topic.
Working in the metaverse. As the pandemic has also taught us, simply going back to the office will no longer be an option. People will not
Last year, a lot of us worked on this ground, and while I miss the people I work with, I think remote work is here to stay for a lot of people. So many better tools for it. Let's take a look at what working in the metaverse. Imagine if you leave the office without it. You still have that sense of presence, shared physical space, which chance interactions that make you all accessible. Now imagine you have your perfect work setup, and you can actually do more than you could in your regular lifestyle. And on top of all that, you can keep wearing your favorite sweatpants. Good. Let's get together real quick.
For now, let's try it. Hi. So what do we think?
Thanks, ready? Right. All ready for the presentation.
All right. Good luck.
Imagine a space with two abstractions and focus on the task at hand. And when you're ready to share what you can work on, you can present it as if you're right there with the team.
Wait, where's Mark?
I think he's in a bill.
So the technology you actually see here is real. So it's not future, it's now. But we have to get used to the new type of processes and interactions to be productive. And that's a challenge. So in the end, the metaverse will transform also how we work and how we select competences for our employees.
Imagine our world today. People, vehicles, businesses, buildings, hospitals, factories, entire cities, and the billions of lights that connect us to this world and to each other. This is the world. Okay, we can replicate that physical world into a digital twin. A digital twin that bounces to the physical world in real time. That we can experience in this reality. That we can collaborate with. That we can run simulations on. And find what is important to us. That we can apply AI to learn, predict, and act. To save time and money. To reduce carbon. To preserve natural resources. To improve safety. To bring us all closer. This is already happening today. Across the world, organizations are taking advantage of this new wave of innovation that trends to an interconnectedness that enables the metaverse. Everything modeled in the metaverse mirrors the status of the physical twin, including
Dear audience, that is indeed a lot of new information to process immediately. Of course, it is possible to delve into one of the course modules at custom master classes we can facilitate. Now you've understood the basics a bit. We have come to the next topic.
Working in the metaverse. As the pandemic...
Right time, with the right context in front of you, to move through the physical world and get relevant information about its digital counterpart, when and where you need, using mixed reality. The Microsoft Cloud brings these capabilities together with the limitless computing power of the cloud and intelligent devices at the edge, and creates this framework for building immersive and impactful digital twin, mixed reality, and meta.
Actually, in the beginning, I was kind of skeptic, would Microsoft actually achieve this type of interaction and possibilities? 5, 6 years ago, I was playing with the first version of the HoloLens, but recently I played with the newest HoloLens technology, and it actually blew my mind. These guys really understand how to use mixed reality in engineering environments, education environments, but also in your personal communication space. And we have to keep one thing in mind: the internet is a pure military application, and all the technology we see here is actually a spin-off of the billions and billions of DARPA who've invested heavily in virtual reality and augmented reality. And while we are living in a very, let's say, complex world where threats can occur very fast, if we look at Ukraine, for example, we also need to train our military in a new flavor. So the people at NATO created this technology also together with Microsoft.
Collective training of radio and communications procedures.
This is the real game.
BBS3 can fully simulate the combined arms environment, bringing together assets from land, sea, and air, allowing trainees to practice in coordinating diverse assets. Here, our trainees use the UAV with thermal sensor simulation to keep watch on the optimal location. Meanwhile, a ground-based observation team uses the in-vehicle remote weapon systems to keep tabs on the enemy. Vehicles and training scenarios can be operated by trainees, AI, or controlled by administrators. Here, an administrator takes control of an to perform an escalating response radio communication from the trainees. Trainee,
You have to keep in mind they have access to all the satellite data in the world. So they can basically engineer a digital twin of every city on the planet very fast, make it interactive, share it with military personnel for hybrid warfare. And actually, if you look at drone technology and how AI and robots evolve in this new type of battlefield, you can simulate it before and do it later in the real world. But this is a new way how, let's say, the military will work